Humanity came to the galactic stage far later than we did. Our empire had enveloped them long before they left the surface of their world. Their progress startled us. They used mechanical switches and dead reckoning to reach their moon, merely because another nation-state had the same goal. They used computers far weaker than our communication devices to reach a barren planet beyond their moon and had the audacity to set up a colony. We watched as, time and time again, they nearly brought themselves to the brink of destruction, ready to rescue the brave pioneers upon their moon and upon the planet they called Mars. It all changed when one of our observation shuttles was shot down by a country called Australia after a freak bolt of lightning struck and destroyed our cloaking device. I was there, upon that fateful day when humanity discovered us. We welcomed them to the galaxy with open arms. Perhaps it was hope or fear that made us change our first contact policy on that one day, or maybe fate herself. It doesn't matter. We welcomed them one and all and brought them to the stars happily. Many left their homeworld that year, seeking to join our armies or our fleets. Most wanted to see the galaxy, others merely hoped for a better life. We welcomed them all. We quickly realized why humans had spent so long fighting amongst themselves. They were a violent, arrogant, hard-headed, brittle, ruthless species. Our phase rifles were not good enough for them. They had to fix knives at the end. They brought with them crude chemical explosives that could level buildings. They brought with them their concept of war. I still remember on Tetha 2, our position being compromised by the Xanathi. Twice as large and able to take multiple shots before falling, they were terrifying to face. The human in our squad called himself Edwin's son. He said his rank was a sergeant from a military called the United States Marine Corps. I had been wounded, unable to shoot, and half of us were dead. He took my repeater from me and shoved me towards the rear line. He shouted at me to go. He said he would hold them off. I tried to pick up my pistol before he threw that out of reach and shoved me back again. I still remember his words, if nothing else, than for the sheer audacity of them. "Get out of here. That is an order, Captain." He smiled then, a small and maybe sad one, and said two words that I had barely heard over the roar of battle around us. Semper Fi. He turned, shooting at the advancing Xanathi, and I ran. I counted. The weapon's fire stopped at 154 seconds. At 172 seconds, the ground in front of me was illuminated in a bright flash. At 174 seconds, I was knocked over by the shock wave of an explosion. The next day, we advanced again, the Xanathi having retreated for reasons we couldn't understand. We found their ruined and charred corpses. We found their broken weapons, their torn uniforms. Of our friend Edwinson, we found merely two items. A helmet that was half melted and a small piece of metal stamped with something we could only make out to read, "And son, James E." We quickly looked up how humans honored their dead. Guardian Laslian gave his own rifle, and Observer Taliak gave his combat knife. I myself gave my spare pair of combat boots. It was a simple monument, the rifle fixed into the ground with the knife at the barrel, the boots placed in front, and the helmet sat upon the top. It was only after the war had been won that we realized what happened. Edwinson had held his position, contacting a ship in orbit and telling them to drop a strike on his position. He gave his life to buy us time to run like cowards. He embodied everything a Guardian was sworn to uphold. Everything we abandoned on that terrible day. That is why I am here, human. At the place you call Arlington. All that remains of my friend lies here, with nothing more than a simple white stone. It can never tell the story. Your father was the bravest being I ever knew, and I can only hope to one day be worthy of his sacrifice. The author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.